Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast of what's going on in the South Florida real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, my co-host, the moderator, Daniel Hernandez over at Compass Real Estate in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses as well as condos. Next time you're in the Grove, look up Daniel. He's right over there by Monty's.
Right on top. Best office building, best location for an office building in all of Coconut Grove, if I may say. A lot of new folks moving in here. I just saw some big tech company just signed a 10,000 plus square foot lease in Coconut Grove. I don't know where all these people are going, but they are paying top dollar for it. I mean, I guess if you're buying a $5 million house in Coconut Grove, you don't want to commute to Brickell. You want to be in the Grove, right?
Exactly. They're all figuring out. They want to be close to Casola's. They want to be close to Flanagan's. They want to go there for the lunch
Miami
special.
Slice. Harry's is out. Miami Slice is moving in.
Yeah, but how long is that queue going to be? If anybody doesn't know, Miami Slice is the place that's located over in the close to what would have been Overtown. They leased out a space at the bottom of a rental building. Every single time they open, the queue is around the corner. Everybody's waiting in there. They're begging. Couldn't you think Soup Nazi from Seinfeld 20 years ago?
But with pepperonis.
Oh, with pepperonis.
All beef pepperoni. You got to know your market.
Not on Friday. Not if you were celebrating Good Friday. So anybody out there?
It's Easter weekend, of course. Happy Easter, Peter. Do you say Happy Easter?
Happy Easter, and we also have Passover. Don't forget that.
It's this week,
So
Holy Week.
Very religious time of year right now in South Florida, as well as the world.
Well, everybody, welcome to Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. If you're just joining us for the first time today, whether you're on Substack, whether you're on YouTube, we're on Instagram now, Peter. We can stream directly to Instagram now. So if wherever you're watching us, if you look at the bottom left of your screen, if you're on one of the horizontal platforms, and if you're on the vertical platform, then you're just going to have to listen along. But that's the rundown. So every week, Peter and I read the news, we throw some stories back and forth, and we land on these 5 stories. And so this week, we have so much material for you because there's so much going on. Well, there's always something going on here in Miami. And at the end of each topic, we either buy because we agree, we sell because we disagree, or we hold because, well, we don't know and we're just going to sit back and eat our popcorn. And this week, Peter, we got some naming rights are going down this week. We don't live in Palm Beach, and Palm Beach is just up and around that way. But on March 30th, Peter, so a few days ago, Governor Ron DeSantis up there in Tallahassee signed legislation renaming Palm Beach International Airport to the President Donald J. Trump International Airport, effective right now, I think pending FAA approval. So the airport's just right next to Mar-a-Lago, so it's basically like his own little private commercial airport. So the name change is expected to cost Palm Beach County approximately $2.7 million because, you know, they got to change the sign, they got to change the phone systems, but they made it very clear that the community is not paying a VIG to the DJT organization. I don't know how that's going to play out, but that's what they're saying. And then other Trump naming is we're going back to the Miami-Dade College site down there in downtown. Peter, do you see they released the renderings for the building? Big building with TRUMP right there on top with flags and star-spangled banners, the whole jazz. It's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. It's going to be epic. And the best part about it, Peter, they paid $10 for it.
$10. I'll tell you what, my first glance at that rendering, remember everybody, this is the site we were talking about back in September. This is a site that they had to pass twice because the first time they didn't notify everybody, in fact, that the Miami-Dade College was going to take this valuable piece of dirt that we value north of $360 million and give it over to President Donald Trump so that he could put up a library. It was back in September. We had a professor.
That's a really big library. There's a lot of books are going to go in there. I mean, I know dirt's expensive here, but I think this is the first time that a presidential library has gone vertical in this sense. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there.
It is going vertical, and they can basically build to the moon, if you will, if you look at that particular site. That project is supposed to be a library only, but the first rendering says, yeah, probably going to have a hotel in there as well. Imagine that. And you know what? If you got a hotel, you can also have a condo. And if you were to sell condos in that market, you're looking probably close to, well, depending on how the market goes, about $1.8 million a door.
What can you do zoning by right there?
Yeah, it's on because of its location in and around all of the public transportation. No parking requirement. 40 grand a parking spot. 2,500 units you can put up to figure out the parking. Whatever the parking is it, well, I should say it's 1.5 times 2,500 units. That's all the savings. So if he wanted to change the renderings, he could have a $5 billion project with a little library tucked in the side.
Wow. And a 747 in the lobby per the renderings.
And yeah, why not? Go ahead, bring it in. But Daniel, I'll tell you, the first rendering I saw of this particular building, and if everybody hasn't seen it, they can go on Instagram and they can check it out. First rendering I saw, you know what it reminded me of?
Tell me.
It reminded me of Manny Medina's Folly. And what do I mean by that? And who's Manny Medina? Manny Medina is the guy who does Emerge America. This is the guy that basically built a network access point of the Americas. Last condo project he put up before he pivoted away from condos and went into IT and ultimately sold to Verizon for north of $1 billion. That fortress that's located at Miami World Center. He built a project called the Millennium Tower. It's also known to many on Brickell Avenue as the Four Seasons. It was a disaster. It was built for New Yorkers. They tried to put it in Miami. It did not work. It took them a decade to sell it all the units. So looking at this design, this is the typical out-of-towner coming in here, trying to just plop something in and thinking locals are going to embrace it because of maybe the branding. They tried it with the Four Seasons, disaster. Manny pivots. He goes into IT and he does the network access point of the Americas. Let's see how this one sort of plays out. But first glance, not impressed. Does not work with the local neighborhood. Does not work with the local vibe. We'll see who's right. But you know me, I'm always on the opposite side of the trade.
Hey, they're delivering, they're closing on the 11 towers. Who would have thought 10 years ago that you could have a, what do we call it? A cabaret themed condominium building.
Don't call it a strip joint. Do not call it a strip joint. When they first announced it, I was calling it a strip joint, and they got very annoyed. So it is a cabaret. It is not a strip joint.
It's a bar. It's a bar.
Yeah, it's a bar.
$100
cover
look,
from what I hear to
they,
get
they,
it.
they got the Margaritaville condos, right? Up there in Broward. There you go.
You know, speaking of the 11, the owner of 11, which is the cabaret, don't call it a strip joint. The owner of the 11, he was on Instagram talking about how he's 100% sold out. He's got 1,000 units going up on one block, 250 something story towers. He says it's 100% sold out. What I would tell him, because he hasn't built down here before, is let's see what happens when you get over the finish line. Let's see how many people actually show up. Let's see how many people try to get out. Let's see if you can actually run everybody down, get them to the finishing line, make them sign, and more importantly, fund the units. Then we'll talk about if it's 100% sold out or not.
And then, condo defect litigation. That's probably not going to happen. Never happens.
No, it could never happen. Yeah, it's just, it's
Okay,
very unique. It's like a unicorn.
Let's think into the future. So they're supposed to break ground on this Trump library by 2030 or 2031, or else. And the or else is very vague because it doesn't. There's no language that says it would revert back to the state or revert back to the college. You'll just kick the can if they don't break ground. But what if they do break ground and they build it and there are condo defects? What do? You sue the former president's organization? I mean, just play that out. What does that look like?
Well, yeah, that's going to be a very and where do you sue him? You sue him, I guess, I guess it'd be what, state court, or could he go into?
No, it's a Florida development, of course. It's Florida. No.
But how is it marketed? I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I'm not trying to play an attorney either on a podcast or on TV. I don't really know how that would play out. I don't know how long it would take to construct. I don't even know if they are going to construct. And remember, in terms of breaking ground, a lot of people like to move dirt in order to take advantage of maybe some sort of
But Tallahassee has removed a lot of the powers, and especially in local zoning, they've removed every barrier they can that the city or the county would throw in front of them to keep this building from being built. I mean, heck, look, if they want something to get built, look what they've done at the Freedom Park. That thing went up so freaking fast, they're going to play a soccer match there tomorrow, no?
Tomorrow. Well, but the only thing I would say is, yeah, maybe you're not going to jam them up on the planning and zoning, but however, there's a boy who lives in Austin, Texas. He was building a lot of electronic cars. You know what he's doing now? He's pivoting into robots. because car sales have gone down and they continue to fall. So you listen, one thing is
If
playing
gas
his own.
prices
Another thing
continue
is,
to go up, I think I think he might have gotten out of the EV game a little early.
well, yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm saying is there's a governmental process and then there's the market. Let's see how the market plays out. But listen, I wish him luck going ahead. And if you're going to go ahead, you're going to build something massive. I hope it goes spectacularly. I want to sit back and I want to watch and see exactly how this plays out. But Daniel, let me talk to you about this airport, this newly renamed airport, which you're going to be able to.
I've never been there. I don't know anything about it other than what I've been reading about in the news for the past several months when they were negotiating this name change. Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, if you look at the airports, Miami International Airport is obviously the 800-pound gorilla. Then you're going to have Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale, I think it's got 2 runways. I don't know how many runways are in Palm Beach International. It's probably 1, maybe it's 2.
Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, really, what it is it's a third rung down. It is the diversion airport, or maybe the diversion to the diversion airport. It's not really in that active of an airport. It's got relatively limited types of service going to and from. But what's sort of interesting about that is they go ahead and they change the name of that. They've also changed Southern Boulevard, which is the road that will take you effectively into Mar-a-Lago, which is located on Palm Beach Island, right across a little bridge from downtown West Palm Beach. So we got the airport, we got the street. The only problem we got is they just did a special election and they just elected
the Democratic guy won in the Mar-a-Lago district. No, the special election.
I think it was a woman. Yeah, so a Republican basically, I don't know how they left office. If they left office and they did a special election in order to replace that position, and a Democrat won. So I don't know how it goes, but there is a rule typically that says you don't name anything after anybody until once they've passed. And the reason is in Miami, we've named a bunch of streets after people. And lo and behold, after the fact, we come to realize we might not have done the right thing in jumping the gun and trying to recognize people while they're still walking.
No, now we're a hype town. You gotta take advantage while it's hot, right?
I guess you got to take advantage of it while it's hot. I mean, I love to go through downtown Miami because there's a road named after a banker that went to jail. And it's still laying there. So every time I get off, I always sort of point to that. And that basically is our history, Daniel. Why do people come to South Florida? They come for love. They come for a job, or they're running from the law. It's always one of the 3. Sometimes it's all 3.
Buy, sell, hold, trumps.
I would probably be a buy. And let me give you some logic on it. I think if done correctly, this could almost be like the Grand Ole Opry or Dollyland. Dolly Parton's got a park. It could be. This could be like a tourist shtick, tchotchke type of place. Everybody who's all in, maybe think of Graceland up in Memphis. You're a big Elvis fan. You get everybody rolling out there. Think about it. You could have go to the restaurants, people dressed up like the president with the hair and doing all that type of stuff. It could actually be a lot of fun. It could be a shtick. We are the state of themes. We got Disney World with the mouse. If you remember the old Sunny Isles Beach before it became Billionaires Row, it was all these schlocky hotels with different themes that were peddling product to the working stiffs. So maybe they take, because Sunny Isles Beach has gone Billionaires Row now, maybe they take all that same crowd, working class stiff, blue collar like myself, and they drive them to a different area. And who knows? Maybe this is the new magnet. Maybe, I come from Chicago. Up in Chicago, they got a place called Wisconsin Dells. People would go up there. Who knows? Maybe this is the new one. You can get all you want to get about the president. You go
do the pilgrimage
in Palm Beach County. Yeah, but so then the question becomes, why is the library in Miami? Why isn't it located in West Palm Beach? Does Stephen Ross have too much land he doesn't want to share? Does Jeff Green have too much dirt he doesn't want to share? You got plenty
because
of dirt.
Miami's hot. Because you can't sell a condo for $2 million in Palm Beach.
Why not, though? This is what it can do. You got Vanderbilt University. You got Stephen Ross. You got Jeff Green, who made money shorting the downturn of the Great Recession. Put it all and concentrate in one place. Just go crazy with it. You can sell T-shirts. You got magnets. You got all kinds of stuff. It's, location. I don't understand the logic here in terms of putting a library in Miami when in reality it ought to be in, the Mecca of Donald Trump, which is effectively, we got the library, we got the road, we got the Mar-a-Lago. Just concentrate it all. And, when do companies go bad? When they get outside of their lane. It's all there. It's concentrated. Run with it.
Yeah, but the economics sure do work when you get the land for so cheap. It's not like you have to spend $350 million for it.
Well, maybe you can sublet the land. I mean, is there anything that says you can't give like a
Oh,
200-year
lease it
lease?
back to MDC, obviously.
Yeah, why not? Jack up the tuition a little bit. Let the students go there.
So you're buying this. I'm gonna hold because
I'm buying the theme. The idea that we could sell magnets, we could have tchotchkes, we could have all this type of stuff with that Trump name all over it. And I think it'd be perfect. You fly into the airport, you have a visit, a tour to Mar-a-Lago. I do tours. Maybe I'll do a walking tour, walk people past there. We can just wander around the corner. There's an infamous location. Yeah. It'd be a great old time.
I'm gonna hold because I just it's all happened very, very fast. I don't know if you remember this. This wasn't even on anybody's radar before September. Actually, even in September, it wasn't anybody's radar because the college didn't announce that they were going to transfer the land over. So Marvin Dunn, our activist octogenarian, took him to court. I think the Judge Mabel Ruiz, still has a court date set because Miami-Dade College was very naughty in not letting the community know about it. Now, I don't think that court date will stop the land transfer, but it will, if not, for nothing else, send a naughtygram to Miami-Dade College that, hey, you guys were in violation of Sunshine Law, which they very clearly were. They went back and they voted again. They did that in Hialeah, off in Casa Carajo, but they did transfer it over to the Trump Library Foundation, and this supposedly is going to be the result. But everybody, listen, we see renderings of buildings all the time. You know, there are planned buildings, there are proposed buildings, there are buildings under construction. And sometimes, even once they get under construction, they still get foreclosed upon. So this is very, very, very early. And it's just a rendering. There's a lot of moving parts here, and I'm holding. I'm just going to see and wait what happens.
I want a T-shirt with it. I want with the airport. I want some sort of tree. By the way, what are the initials going to be? TIG?
DJT. No, DJT.
So DJT will be
from PBI to DJT.
Interesting. That's not bad. I like that. You get a DJT. Listen, why don't we set up a website? Why don't we start hawking some T-shirts, some magnets, all kinds of stuff?
I think we're behind, dude. There's an AI that's already got that going. If we
put airport in there, DJTA for airport. No, can't we do that?
No, you'd have to sign it over to the organization for $10.
Okay.
All right, Coral Gables, and everybody's going to laugh because I'm such a Coral Gables advocate. I love the Gables. I live near the Gables. The Gables is great, but Coral Gables has a PR problem, Peter. So much so that they had to do a Q&A with the Chamber of Commerce and the Miami Herald this week, because if you walk down Miracle Mile, which is that span of Coral Way as it terminates over there at Coral Gables City Hall, if you walk down that strip on a weeknight, the only restaurant that has anybody in it, the only storefront, is Hillstone. It's sleepy. And to think that a place with a central business district like Coral Gables, there's so much money in Coral Gables, it makes you wonder, hey, why isn't there more commercial happenings going on? Where are all the awesome restaurants? Where's all the great retail? I don't know if you remember many years ago, but that was like a very high concentration of bridal shops. I mean, what a snooze fest. Coral Gables needs to be vibrant and hip hop and happening, and they did a nice job pedestrianizing Giralda, and there's some restaurants there, but Miracle Mile, which is large and abound, the main street of Coral Gables, to have a corporate chain restaurant that is basically, let's be real, a cheesecake factory with some lipstick on it, to be the spot to be seen. I mean, it's tough. So Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce does this Q&A with the Miami Herald saying, oh, we need to attract more businesses here. Well, my response to that is, A, you got to lower the rents, and B, then this is the PR problem. You ask anybody in town, whether this is true or not, but if you ask anybody in town, I'll take it a step further. Well, Peter doesn't drive, but why do people buy Volvos, Peter? What is Volvo known for?
Safety.
Safety. You know that. It's safe. It's a safe car. Well, Coral Gables, if you go to any developer or contractor in town, they're going to tell you, whether it's right or wrong, Coral Gables is a pain in the ass to deal with the city. And that is a press problem. And they need to overcome that either by, being less of a pain in the ass, or well, doing stuff like this with the Herald and bringing people together to make them realize that, hey, look, we just want to build a central business district here. And you don't have to bribe us, or maybe you do. Look what they did with the plaza. Wasn't that supposed to be like a third of the size that it is today? But they did it. Now, why can't they do that with Miracle Mile, Pete?
Well, I think there's a bigger underlying theme to all of this. If you guys remember back in the early 2000s, the problem that Coral Gables had is it was old. It's an old demographic. Everybody all these fat cats living in these spreads, these houses in and around, remind me the name of the swimming pool, Venetian swimming pool. These
Sure.
are all families that have been there quite some time. The price points are high. A lot of companies, typically the CEO or whoever's running the satellite office for a global company, their office is out in Doral or it's maybe in Blue Lagoon, and then they all want to be located somewhere close so they can get to the airport if they got to fly out. So the Gables is always a popular place. So it had a demographic problem for a long time. And then what happened? Early 2000s, they started building. They put up a project. There's a rental that ultimately got converted into a condo called the 10 Aragon. That came up. There was a fight going on between two mayors. Do we want younger people? Do we not want younger people? Some of them wanted to keep it the way it was. Some people didn't. And you had this brawl go on. Lo and behold, we catch fire. We go forward. There was a lot of momentum. And now I think what's going on, because of the pricing problem, because of the fact that a lot of these other generations, they're not boozing. They're not going out to pick up the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever sex they're into. Because of that, I don't think you're getting the same traffic. And then throw in there some large groups that came in. They bought the dirt, they bought the space, they jacked up the rents because they paid too much, and you lost essentials, Daniel. Let me tell you the essential they lost. They lost Navarro. There was a Navarro located right
there on Coral Way by Tarpon Bend. Wasn't there a Tarpon Bend there on the corner too?
Yeah, there was a Tarpon Bend. They jacked around up on Tarpon Bend. They brought in a place called Grammarly or something where they had a big ladies pump with a red undertone or red bottom to that all the influencers would come to take pictures. Problem is that drinks were $30 a drink. Everybody stopped going. So basically they priced themselves out for the crowd that they need, which is going to bring the energy, which is going to be the vibe, which is going to do the influencing. Now it's reverted back to what it is, and it's all old people.
So is Miracle Mile going to have like a Lincoln Road moment? We've been talking about Lincoln Road for the last few weeks on the show. How are commercial landlords just going to have to sort of take a write down on what they expected in terms of their cap rates? Because I see for lease, and then anytime something opens up, it lasts half an hour.
Think of it as a canary in the coal mine. Think of it at the Big Mac index factor, like you have in The Economist. The Gables is basically showing what's going on with the younger people. The older people who bought a while ago, they're kicking back, they're loving it. They don't want the noise, get off my lawn. But the younger people, if they're coming in, they're like, I don't necessarily know if I can afford this. Oh, and if I come here, what am I going to get? I can't even go to Navarro. I got to go on Calle Ocho and Ponce. I got to go through all that traffic. I can't walk. I don't have a car, as everybody knows, and I'm very proud about it. I haven't had one since 2013. I like to go to places where I can walk. Now juxtapose the Gables with the Grove. Coconut Grove, what did they do? They built this stackable big box right over there by the Metro Rail station, the Coconut Grove station. I can hit a Chipotle, a Sprouts, a Target. You even got booze, although I don't know how good the booze place is doing because nobody's drinking anymore. But I'm just saying the Gables has worked against itself. It used to have an Einstein's. There was like a Starbucks where it was cheap. It was this and that. Good luck finding that. There used to be a Burger King. Burger King got replaced by a Peruvian place. You go in there for a drink, it's $30. Hillstone, the famous hangout place, which is located right there at Ponce and Miracle Mile. Well, they used to be a Payless shoe store, and now it's a high end. And Hillstone's good, don't get me wrong. The only bastion of hope that you have in the Gables, I would tell you, is the bar. The bar is this little dive place. You go in there, you get a cheap drink. Yeah, but everything else, you got Sweet Greens. Listen, I like salad. I eat a lot of salad. You can't get out of that place for $20.
Don't lie to the gang. Don't lie to the gang. You're not eating salad. Get out of here, Peter.
I eat a salad every night. What about La Sandwicherie? Even in that place is a little bit high on the price.
You know, I think they're out.
Oh, they're gone.
I tried to get it from there the other day, and they weren't open. I love how you go on Google Maps now, and everything just says temporarily closed now, which is the new, you have a soft opening. I think it's a soft closing. Like, we want to let you off easy. But there are places that on a Thursday it's just closed. And there's been a lot of other transplants coming down from from New York. Emmy Squared is like the Detroit-style pizza place there on the south side opposite of Hillstone. And I guess in the age of Uber Eats, it's really difficult to discern who's doing well and who isn't, because there are restaurants, and I'm sure, like a pizza place, so much of their business is delivery and takeout now that even though I don't see anybody eating in the restaurant, they might be doing okay. I don't know.
The problem is pricing, and the problem is that the current demographic is going to die off, and there's nobody behind, and there's no way for step-up buyers to move into that market. Prices are simply too high, and we're seeing a reflection of what's going on with the economy. Which, by the way, happy one-year anniversary of Liberation Day.
And that's not an April Fool's joke, even though it happened on April Fool's. All right,
That's
Pete.
right. That's right.
Buy, sell, hold on Coral Gables has a PR problem.
I would be a buy, and I don't think doing a Q&A with the Herald is going to resolve the problem. What they need to do is put in place some sort of program to bring energy, youthfulness into the Gables. And I say that as somebody who's a little bit over 40, or age of 40.
A little bit of, yeah, just few years, few months. Happy early 45th birthday, Peter.
Thank you.
I'm a buy on that as well. And now we're zooming out a little bit to look at the macros. Macros of Miami, perils in pre-construction, and this is sort of general. We're not gonna name names. Maybe we will, but every week for the last several months, it seems like even the Real Deal, which doesn't like to poke the bear too hard, they came out with an article I think right before the end of the year, and they chronicled a number of foreclosed upon condominium projects. And I'm not talking about projects, I'm not talking about litigation against construction defects. I'm talking about projects, builders who cannot make their payments. And this circles all around this really dangerous part in pre-construction, where we're selling units, but we haven't sold enough units to take out our construction loan. And typically, from what developers tell Peter and I, is somewhere between 40 and 60%. And so to get from that 0 to 40%, you have costs. You got to pay the architects, you got to pay the marketing company, you got to pay the sales guy to sit in the office, and you cannot use deposits to pay these things. So you need to be well capitalized. And where do these guys go? They go to these bridge lenders. So you take out a bridge loan. A bridge loan is a short-term loan to bridge the gap to your construction loan. So that will be a high-interest debt, anywhere from 18 to 36 months long, depending on how long it takes you to get over that hump of initial sales till you get your construction loan, which means you can break ground and actually build the thing. So that is a really perilous spot to be in. And in this new age of high interest debt, we're not even talking about 2021, 2022 before interest rates spike. Some of these hard money loans, they go into the teens in terms of interest rates. So if people aren't buying, then developers are hard pressed to find the cash to meet their debt obligations. And we are seeing it happen, aren't we, Peter?
Oh, we're seeing it happen to the point where this week, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve chairman, he came out. He was actually at Harvard. He was speaking. Somebody asked him a question about what they call private lending. Daniel, listen, you might say I'm old. You're using the term hard money. That's old money. Now it's called private lending.
Oh, it's private.
It's not hard anymore. Hard is like the Shylock days. No. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about private lending. It feels better. It sounds better.
Oh, anyways, like attainable housing instead of workforce housing.
Yeah, of course. So old man Powell, who's running the Federal Reserve for another month or so, he comes out and he says there's a correction going on in the private lending world. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, the one who called up all of you who bought condos in 2021 because you came down here and he told you could work from home, and then he told you get your ass back to Wall Street. He came out and he said there's never just one roach, because you got some problems going on with the private lenders. There was a story done by Bloomberg. What did Bloomberg say? Bloomberg said they went out to the West Coast, southwest coast of Florida. They went to the same places from the famous movie, The Big Short, and everybody should go and they should check out that movie. Take you back to where we were. And what they found is the private lenders, they typically had a default rate of about 2% on their portfolio. Now they're pushing north of 7%. So
Whoa.
Private money is a real issue, and because sales aren't clicking the way they used to, we came into the winter, and I think you were in agreement, and if not, you can jump on the bandwagon if you weren't. we said this was the year or the period, the winter, November through April, where you take everything you got, you throw it against the wall. And if you do not sell enough, come May, you're going to do like they do in, like they say in Tampa, tits up. These projects are going to get shelved, the dirt's going to get sold, and everybody's going to go by the wayside. So to see this foreclosure, I am not surprised. I would anticipate there's going to be a lot more. And how do I know that? Because I'm getting calls from abroad from groups who are thinking about funding and lending money on this, and they're asking me what's going on in the condo market. And when you start going abroad for cash because the locals are not willing to lend you and the domestic money is not willing to lend you, that's kind of a tell, is what I would suggest.
So these lenders who are calling you, and you don't have to name names, I don't expect you to, because call Peter. He'll never name a name unless you really piss him off. But are they capitalizing these guys?
Well, they're considering it, and as part of the due diligence, they're doing their homework, but they don't know anything about anything. They know the terms are very attractive. They know it's parked in the United States, and therefore, in theory, you used to have consistency and visibility in terms of the process. And I'm assuming that's all still in place. So some of them are giving it a look, but then they start running the numbers, and once you kind of get away from a lot of the sell side talk, it becomes a little bit more challenging for them. So would you make that type of commitment? And and there are projects, and you just said we're not going to name names, but there's some projects with some pretty big brands associated with them that suddenly, I don't know, everybody went on vacation. Maybe it's a long
it's a long
week
vacation.
Yeah.
The Mercedes-Benz doesn't work during Easter or the
No.
several months before that.
So be on the lookout, everybody. This is the time. You got 27 days or so left in the winter buying season. We go into summer, we get heat. We get humidity, and we got the hurricane warning
It's so
coming.
delicious. What are you talking about? Come. You know what? I went to school in Boston, right? And I said, I'm going to go visit Boston in the dead of winter, because if I can put up with it in February, then you can put it up with it any other time of the year. If you come to Miami in August, I'm talking like August 15th, when it's 150% humidity, the mosquitoes are out, and it's raining from 3 to 7 p.m. like clockwork every day. If you come here and you like it, it's the best city in the world. If you don't like it, it's still the best city in the world. Come here anyway. But if you're going to buy pre-construction, call Peter or I first, because there's just so many projects. And there are good ones. There are good ones. There are great pre-construction projects. There are great opportunities, but there are bad ones too. And don't get bamboozled by the cold plunge and the pools and the this and the gyms and the whatevers.
Because isn't that a song? Because of the things they do.
Because of the wonderful things he does.
Exactly.
The Wizard of Oz.
You don't want to end up in the honeycomb building. The Beehive. You do not want to go there. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the building located directly across the street from Dade County Courthouse. Building I'm referring to is the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, Southern District of Florida, because that's where this stuff ends up. We've seen 2 existing condos go, as they say in Tampa, tits up. They're now going through it. Some of these other projects, depending on how it goes, if a developer can't build it and your cash is up there, guess what? You're a creditor.
Just get in line, right?
Just get in line. So, and if you do go to the bankruptcy court, remember, you can't bring a cell phone in, so leave that in the car if you're fortunate enough to have a car. I would take the Metro. It's much easier to go that way. And I'll probably see you guys around there if you do go.
You go to Tam Tam, which is right across the street. It's fantastic.
Is it really that good?
Oh,
I've
man,
heard great things.
It's awesome. And they got a little pizza place next door with like that really thin cracker crust. Absolutely marvelous. All right, perils of pre-construction, Pete, buy, sell, hold.
The perils, I would be a buy. I'd be a pound the table buy.
I'm a pound the table buy on perils in pre-construction. Don't go at it alone, folks, by the way. Really, you're not going to get a better deal from the developers, and they just pay us anyway. So we're basically working for you for free. Coming up, now this is infill. So folks, we've been talking about the UDB, which is the Urban Development Boundary, because it's been in the news every several years. They want to move this invisible line that is separates Miami-Dade County from the Everglades. Now, you can build past this invisible line. This is on the western border of Miami-Dade County with the Everglades. You can build past it, but you can only build like 1 house per every 5 acres. It's not for development, it's for farms and homesteads. So you're not building a skyrise out there right next to the alligators and the anacondas. Anacondas, did we say anaconda? It's Burmese python, I'm sorry. So we can
I don't think you say Burma anymore. I think you got to say Myanmar.
It's a Myanmar python.
There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't let it happen again. So you can either lobby Tallahassee to move the UDB, which in recent history, lobbying Tallahassee has gone over very well for developers, as we've seen on Miami Beach with the water slide. And that's my ASL for water slide, American Sign Language. Or you can build infill. We have so much underutilized land here in the county that you can lobby governments to upzone that existing area, or just use it by right, use your zoning by right to build whatever can be built. And somebody got particularly creative, Peter. You know Blue Lagoon, which I think they've stripped the name of Blue Lagoon. It's called the Waterford Business District over there by the airport.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Used to
talking
be
about?
owned by the California Teachers Pension Fund, TIAA CREF. They used to
didn't
be. I
know
don't know if they
that.
still own it. Yeah. Blue Lagoon.
So
They did the development because it's a certain entitlement zone, I think, where you get discounting if you hire employees from certain zip codes. So that was one of the
oh,
sales
no
pitches.
kidding.
Yeah.
You learned it here first, folks. So I pulled it up on the map for the game because we know how you all like our flybys. So there's Miami International Airport just to the north, and then this little highlighted area, which Google Earth, wonderful tool, they want to fill in this artificial lagoon. So this is Blue Lagoon, and this is the whole commercial district. You got Burger King is in there, Popeyes is in there, all these big back offices of companies because it's close to the...
Lennar's headquarters is there, right across from the Jersey Mikes.
There you go. So you have all these buildings that moved in here, all these companies that moved in here because of its proximity to the airport, proximity to their warehouses in Doral, and proximity to, well, where everybody sort of lives. I mean, what's beautiful about Miami International Airport is not like JFK or one of these airports in a far away side of the county. It is in the middle of the city. And so this corporate park was built around there. Well, this Blue Lagoon, like so many of our lakes in the county, it's artificial. It's not real. It was a quarry that was, I looked it up, actually owned by the Ferrer family. Ferrer, the old mayor.
Old man Ferrer.
Old man Ferrer. So Jose Ferrer, like way back in the day in the 70s, they owned this company that owned all of this. And it was effectively a rock quarry. And so when you dig out and then you build this office complex. So technically speaking, by zoning, this is considered submerged land. And submerged land, according to the county, you can, well, I guess unsubmerge it. So this is why I named this topic. Now this is infill, because they literally want to fill this back in. This is about, it says it right here, 2.77 acres. So they're going to take all of this here. If you see my mouse moving around the screen, they're going to take all of this here and they're going to do a Live Local project, which I think is fantastic. I mean, that is real out-of-the-box developer thinking. It's not, hey, let's terminate this condo alongside the bay. It's, hey, let's take that water that wasn't there anyway and fill it in. I think that's a much better idea than expanding the UDB.
I'm all about infill development, and kudos to this particular developer. But Daniel, if you think about this, this is really the circle of life, but in real estate. Because what did we do? We went to the bay, we dredged it in order to bring ships through, and then we created islands, and now we're reverting back to these are artificially made lakes. We go ahead and now we're filling them back in. So it's just a circle of life. Why don't they fill the whole damn thing in? Just bring in all kinds of dirt. Drain the Everglades, keep going west, and just bring it in. Daniel, take a look at the Miccosukee casino, because that is probably the next office park based on this precedent that's being set. Because all in and around there, they're dynamiting the hell out of just north of Cayocho or 8th Street. And who knows, maybe those would be future office parks going forward. So circle of life, it makes sense. I'm glad they're doing it. I want to see how it plays out, and I hope they build it high enough so there's no flooding. Because remember, we got a little bit of an issue on the Barrier Island with some of these places that were man-made and stuff happening, and then lo and behold, sinking and settling and things like that. So, listen, if you're the developer on the way out, once all your liabilities are passed based on warranties, somebody else's problem.
I wonder what, that's interesting, and I'm producing and participating, but I will pull up on the Substack for later if you guys get our emails. I'll pull up the flooding overlay on this because I'm very curious. So is all this area a flood zone with all this water here?
All right, so I don't know. I'm going off the cuff here, but what I will tell you is, generally speaking, in order to reclaim Everglades, because that's what this is, to reclaim all the Everglades, you typically pull out land from somewhere else, you dump it somewhere else to shore it up, and then whatever you got left turns into a lake. Just generally speaking, down here in South Florida. So in order to fill this one in, they're going to have to pull it from somewhere else, I would imagine, and how that all plays out, who knows? I mean, they tried that in Sunny Isles, and they got what, 35 buildings in and around the Barrier Island that are maybe settling quicker than they should, according to the University of Miami and the Miami Herald article. You got Brickell Key, which is also man-made. You got Sunset Island. You got all that area. You got West Avenue. That's all man-made. A little bit of flooding going on there. So, who knows? Maybe these developers will figure something out. Maybe somebody went over to the Netherlands. Maybe they were studying in Amsterdam while they were partaking in other things, and they're
They're called coffee shops, Peter. They're called coffee shops.
Yeah, because the Dutch know how to build basically below sea level. So yeah,
the whole country's a bog.
Maybe that's the way you market it. The first below sea level office building or residential, whatever, in Miami-Dade County. That might be the pitch.
I don't think beggars can be choosers, and I'm not calling people who live in workforce housing beggars. But it's either you live in workforce housing here, or you just commute from Homestead.
Listen, infill development, I'm all about it. It makes some sense. They can do it. But I would also point people, once you go a little bit north of, say, the 112, the Airport Expressway, there's a lot of land in there where you could be doing a bunch of different things. It's not like we have a lack of land. We have plenty of land. It's just people don't necessarily want to go to those areas yet until they become popular. Wynwood. Nobody want to go to Wynwood. Well, Hialeah is like booming. I was saying, I was out there yesterday, Hialeah racetrack and stuff like that, and you're just like, wow, this place is like great. There's plenty of developable dirt. We don't need to reclaim Everglades. It's harder to do it. This might be a dynamic situation. They might be able to get some benefits. It is close to the airport. You are able to get a certain
live local
price or so. Yeah, the live local aspect. So, I mean, kudos to them. If they can make it work, who knows? Maybe this is the Deservator in motion. What do I mean by that? That's the elevator that was built on Sunny Isles, where you drive your car and you sit there, you take it up to your condo, and the place is located outside of that. That was industry trend. Who knows? Maybe taking submerged dirt and building upon it becomes our next new hustle. We got all kinds of man-made lakes all around South Florida. This could be the next play.
I think this is a great idea. Whoever and like many good ideas, you look at it and you go, obviously, look at this big lake. Why is that there? So you can get $45 a foot instead of $40 a foot at these office buildings? Really? What we need is affordable housing, not this giant freaking lake here. Lake Joanne.
Daniel, why don't we fill in parts of Biscayne Bay? We could do that too.
No, stop. Biscayne Bay is a national park, folks. Peter's joking. Ha, ha, ha. Don't do that. That's awful. I can't believe you even say something like that.
And a point of trivia, Daniel, you're showing this little community. If you go to the right, to the east, you'll see a bunch of little small schlocky condos located right there where the water is, just south of the Dolphin. Yeah, if you zoom in, you'll see some small little condos. Yeah, there's little condos in there. Probably about 10, 15 years ago, some guy was cooking meth or something and blew up the whole damn unit.
Oh, and I remember that.
They had like the hazmat group coming in and everything. So, yeah, that particular area, it's very interesting.
All right, buy, sell, hold. Now, this is infill.
I would be a buy. I want to see how it plays out. I wish them the best. Maybe it's precedent setting. Maybe it does things. I just wonder if the costs are going to make sense.
I too am a buy. It sounded like that's a potential hold for you, but I am all steam ahead for this one. All right,
let's do it.
Let's do it. One intersection to rule them all, and this is a buy, sell, hold exclusive. We didn't pull this from anywhere. I just thought this was interesting. So Peter, you do your walking tours, and I think a few weeks ago you were up there in Edgewater. Which is
Edgewater, Midtown, Wynwood.
Along the water's edge, right? And next to Edgewater, you have the Design District, and next to that you have Midtown, and next to that you have Wynwood. So there's a lot of hodgepodging in terms of neighborhood districts here. But what's interesting about this intersection, which is painted in various colors there, is that you go to the water's edge, which is Edgewater, you got all these high buildings, and then You go on the other side of the train tracks, you got more high buildings. But in between, and this is, we're going back to infill here, you have all of this sort of fragmented, there's a lot of single family, a lot of commercial. And now, here at this intersection, which is 36th and Biscayne, so to the east of that, you got the 195, which takes you all the way to Miami Beach. And then to the north of that, you have the Design District, then Midtown, and then you have Wynwood. But right here is kind of an epicenter for a few reasons. So you got 95, you got the 195, you got Midtown, and then you got the train tracks. And so there is really no development here. The northwest corner is or was a Denny's. They sold that for, I think, about $26 million in 2021. Nice chunk of change for Denny's. The northeast corner was a gas station. That's getting developed by the 1000 Group, who did a 1000 Museum. I think it's called like Tower 36. I don't know. We can ask their marketing team how they came up with that name. The southeast corner is a Taco Bell. There are no plans to redevelop that. Thank God. Love their menu. And then the southwest corner is a Class B office building, but there are plans to redevelop it into an office tower and condo. And so despite there being not a ton of movement here right now, if you tried to drive through this intersection today, right now, 5 o'clock on a Friday, good luck to you, sir or ma'am, because it is pandemonium. So once this all gets built, I'd be excited to see. I think this will coerce people to walking more in this district, because being in a car and traversing through here would take you half an hour. I'm not even kidding, guys. I'm not being like Miami exaggerating. Going through that rather than walking, you will lose half an hour driving.
And I used to do it, Daniel. I used to do it. I was living over in Edgewater off 22nd in Biscayne, and I'd see the cars bumper to bumper going northbound after work, and it typically began at 3 o'clock when a lot of the construction workers went out, and I would try to see if they could keep up with me, and I was able to walk basically into the Design District before people were able to drive. So they were just all sitting there, and there's nowhere to go. The reason they can't go anywhere is if you look at the Bright Line tracks, there's only a few points to go from east to west, and everybody's forced like an hourglass to come through. You go through on 36th Street, you go through on 29th, you go through on 27th, or you go through on 20th. That's it. So all of this traffic is all forced into one, and that right there is the middle of the hourglass. If everybody can imagine the hourglass, remember how it's like that? It gets narrow, then it comes down. That's where it is, 36 and Biscayne, as well as Miami Avenue, anything in and around there. It's just a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
So what do you think, and I'm always curious, do you think these developers are talking to each other and saying, hey, how can we make our residents, our clients' lives better? Or are they just, pedal to the metal, build, and anything that's left there after the fact is an afterthought?
Well, what I would tell you big picture is if you have not seen the movie Gangs of New York recently, go back and watch it. And I want you to figure out each gang in that movie, which developer that might be. That's basically how they're operating. They're all operating independently. They do whatever they want to do. And these are gunslingers. A developer is a gunslinger showing up with their revolver at noon, and they're going to see which one can sort of take out the other one. So all competitive. If Miami-Dade County and Broward County and now Palm Beach County can't work out how to allocate the airports and which one should make the most sense, instead, let's go ahead and expand others. How the heck are you going to get developers who actually have money on the line and not using tax money? How are you going to get them to work together? This is a disaster. It'll never be resolved. And if you're in this area, basically just assume you're going to be walking unless they adopt a policy like in London, like in Singapore, and which was a short time in New York City, where you pay a toll in order to get into a main area. I can envision a day, Daniel, real soon, where if you're from the Julia Tuttle south all the way to the Rickenbacker and you want to get off of I-95 and drive in, you should be hit with a toll. I see that day coming real soon.
I don't think our administrators will pull it off, but I think that should happen. I'm totally on board. If that's going into some city charter, all about it. I don't think it's going to happen. But you're right. The traffic is awful. So I don't have the numbers here. Do I have the numbers here? I might have the numbers here. So Pacific Star Capital on the northwest corner, that purple one there, they're building an 18-story mixed-use tower. Tower 36 is going to be luxury residences, 635 feet, so say 60 some odd floors. Southwest corner, that's currently a 7-story Class B office building, but they have concept renderings for a 48-story tower. Wow.
Is that still Terra? Is that still Terra Southwest corner?
That is, I don't know, but the architect who did the renderings is called Dynamica.
Okay, I think that was Terra when they bought that office. They had bought that office because my office was Daniel. If you look to the left, you see where the building on Southwest corner is. Just to
Yeah.
the left, there's a wine joint where you basically go in there and you got wine. You sit out in somebody's yard. I was in the
Oh,
office building right
Lagnac.
next to it. Yeah, exactly. So I was there, and then Avra Jane, the person she's done a bunch of different projects. She bought that little office building immediately south of where the wine place is.
The wine place is right here. Well, this is blocking me.
Damn, Midtown.
Damn Midtown. The little
Yeah, there
wine
it is. You
place
see all the trees.
is. I
To the
think
left.
I
Yep.
think that's it.
That's
I
it.
think that's it.
Yep.
That's it, right?
And then that's Avra's building is right next to it. That's where I used to have cheap rent.
There you go. How long ago was that? Because you've been in downtown for a while now.
That would have been like 2011, 12 maybe.
So one intersection to rule them all, Peter. Buy, sell, or hold.
Well, that is the middle of the hourglass. So I don't see how they can. It's not going to get fixed. It's not going to get fixed. So whatever that means, is that a sell?
I don't really. I just really like the Lord of the Rings reference there. I didn't really think through the buy sell hold, and I put that one up there like an hour ago. One intersection to rule them all. I guess the buy would be: is this really? Is this the beating heart of this district right here, this intersection? Are you a buy on that?
I don't know if it's a beating heart. I think it's more like a blood clot for the.
So you're selling.
I would be selling, but can I give you an interesting piece of trivia?
Please do. We got time, babe.
Okay, if you zoom out with me if you could. All right, perfect. So what I want everybody to focus on is what we're looking at. The real issue there is the tracks. That was Florida East Coast. That was Henry Flagler, Old Man Flagler, when he brought the tracks down that led to Miami basically be incorporated. Julia Tuttle, the Brickles, giving them dirt, all that type of stuff. So what happened is Old Man Flagler was dominating the market with his rail. He was primarily serving the bougie types. So another train opened up, and it's called Seaboard Airline Rail. I don't know. That makes sense, but that's what it was. And that one came to the west, Daniel. And right there between Alapata and Wynwood, which is just to our west, they also had their train terminal in and around there because 36th Street, where Midtown is, that was where Flagler's people left the carriages when they weren't being used. That's where they did the work. They did a bunch of stuff. Just to the west of that in Alapata and Wynwood, separating two, Seaboard also came in. The reason they went there off 36th Street, somehow it was higher. The land was higher. There's some kind of structural strength to the dirt in there. So you had two rails, and that's why it all kind of comes together because it was done because of the rail, and then the roads followed after the suit. And Midtown ultimately got built in the early 2000s when basically Flagler's people, the replacement of it ended up selling the dirt to two developers who went forward and ultimately built the Midtown project. So all of that was designed for industrial. It was not designed for residential. But like you always see, the industrial space gets taken over, and then all of a sudden you have these cool little neighborhoods. But the traffic's a nightmare because it was not built for residential, is what I would argue.
Oh, so it wasn't built to have 1.5 cars per unit times 100 buildings in the vicinity over the course of 25 years?
Yeah. You got about what 18,000 condos units between the MacArthur all the way up to the 36 and then the Bay West to 95. Just to give you context.
Is there more development currently going down in Edgewater between 395 and 195 than is going on in the Central Business District, meaning downtown?
I would say it's almost a push between the Central Business District, the river, the MacArthur. The number of units is very comparable to what's going on in Edgewater. Edgewater now has moved into that phase where they're building kind of bigger units, if you will.
Is it pricier or is it cheaper?
It's pricier in the Edgewater area, but some of the numbers are skewed because you got guys like David Martin going in there and putting up high-end projects right there on the bay.
So the David builds nice stuff. Come on.
I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm saying if you're living in one of these projects, you try to come out and drive. You're not driving anywhere. You're going to be walking. You're going to be schlepping like I was schlepping
You're
there
talking
because the
about you're
traffic.
talking about the one on 29th that he's putting up, Villa, right?
Villa, yep, yep, Villa,
Well, we had a
yeah.
show several weeks ago. We were talking about the development on the 29th Street corridor, all the way from the Bay. And as you move further west, you get into more of those short-term rental projects, all the way till you get to PMG's doing the Frida Kahlo, which is probably the most interesting branded residence in town. But all the way up to 95, that entire 29th Street corridor. And I think 36th Street is going to see the same sort of development. Look, you remember, you have the Charter Club, which is an
Yes.
old condominium development right here on the bay. I mean, look at that. That plot's got to be what, 4 acres?
Yeah, that's totally should have been a termination.
Look at that sucker. I think the one
Yep.
next to it got bought by institutional, and they turned that into a
Yes.
rental, right? It's called like
Yes.
Hamilton or something. Is
Yep.
that what I'm thinking of?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But
And
I
if you look
think
to the one to the right, just to give you some time, one to the
the
right is called
blue.
Blue. Yeah, that was the first one, and Marina Blue was the sister building. That project and both projects were built with money coming from. Are you sitting down? Netscape fortune. You guys remember Netscape?
Whoa!
The guy made his money there. He built a condo. A guy called Jim Clark built that building. He then followed suit with Marina Blue, and then they were going to build another site. And you know what it became? The Masoni. They ended up dumping the dirt to
Oh, they dumped it
our
to Vlad.
oligarch, and yeah, and ultimately it becomes a Masoni. So
He
yeah,
is. He
all of
says
this
he's not
stuff
an
is
oligarch. He's not an oligarch. He's just
sorry.
Vladislav. We like
Flat,
him.
yep.
I think they are finally delivering on Una. By the way,
Yes, yes. So the closings have begun. We'll have
the
to keep
closing.
score and see what goes on there. We'll see who does better, that one or Mr. Newman with his flow house.
My money's on Vlad.
This is his third one, effectively. It's taken him long enough. Maybe this is the one that finally puts him over the finish line, and then he's legit. Welcome to the club, Vlad.
So to end us today, you're selling on one intersection to rule them all.
To rule or to ruin? If it's RUIN or RULE?
No, I listen. I'm selling, and probably for a different reason than you, but it's because of something you said. I think you're really on the money with the railroad crossings. Every inter we're seeing it on 29th, we're seeing it on 36. We're going to see that sort of development happen anytime you can go through the railroad, because if the railroad's just a dead end, that dirt is much less valuable, right? Because you can't get out of there. You can't even get out of there on foot. You can't cross, or you shouldn't cross the train tracks. I am not advocating for anyone crossing the train tracks outside of a railroad crossing, because it is the most deadly train in the country, the Bright Line, if you are a pedestrian. I think if you're a driver too. So the railroad crossings, all those through streets that cross through those railroad intersections, those will continue to be developed. And I love that. Do I think that this is one intersection to rule them all? No. But I think you made a really good point, pointing out that because it is on the railroad crossing, that it is valuable, and that they are doing development like this there.
Yeah, listen, if you want to resolve this, extend the Metromover. Get the Metromover to the other side of the former Denny's site. Take it to the design district, and I'm sure Craig Robbins and the boys at LVMH would love that. You take the Metromover to the other side of the design district, just the beginning of it, the south side of it. Now suddenly everybody living up north, whether it be Little Haiti, it be Buena Vista, it be anywhere else, they can all go to that Metromover. They can jump on it. They can bypass the traffic nightmare, which is Edgewater, and now you're rocking and rolling. But until you get that resolved, the problem is the Metromover ends at about, by the homeless shelter, the Chapman homeless shelter on Miami Avenue, not too far from the cemetery. If it would just continue onward, you'd be in the money.
Where you catch the Venetian Causeway.
Correct.
Right
If
there
they
by
could
the old
somehow
Herald
just
site.
split it up, take it just to the design district, somewhere in and around there. Now you can live north, you can jump on there, you can kind of work your way in, and there wouldn't be a problem, and people could walk, they could do a variety of different things.
Mr. Robbins, you heard it here first. You would be next on our long list of developers who haven't taken us out to lunch yet. I'm looking at you, Ken Billions. I'm looking right at you. Well, folks, That is our first April show. We are well into Q2. Happy Easter, happy Passover. We wish you good fortune. We will see you all next Friday at 4 p.m. on all the platforms now because we can stream vertically. Love that, don't you, Peter? See you, folks.
Absolutely. Well done.